Yep.
I call our meeting to order. Ask for everyone to please stand. Recite the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by a moment of silent reflection. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, would you please take the roll?
Brenda Russell. Present. John Peters.
Here.
Brian Robinson. Here. Rich Hayes. Present. Andrew Bennett. Here. Carla Blazer. Here. Anthony Smith. Here.
Has everyone had a chance to take a look at the minutes from our last meeting? Discussion concerning the minutes. All in favor of approving the minutes? Say aye. Aye. By the same sign. All right. Communication and announcements. We do not have any. We do have a public hearing this evening. So we need a motion to enter into our public hearing.
Make a motion to enter public hearing.
And a second.
Second.
Clerk, could you please take the roll call?
Peters.
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
Pitt.
Yes.
Blazer.
Yes.
Smith.
Yes.
Russell.
Yes.
Okay, we have entered our public hearing. We have two alley vacations, ordinance 17820 and ordinance 17920. Are they both of those you?
178 is Vernon, and 179 is between 2 and 179 West High Street.
Okay. And does anyone have any questions concerning either one of those alley vacations? And they've all been signed off by everyone whose property abuts those?
Yeah, wastewater still wants access to the Vernon because of the manhole cover that they would need access there.
Okay.
And then Ohio Edison also wants access to the Vernon Avenue. And West High was all clear for the
All right, so do we have any further discussion on those?
So you'll get with the person and let them know that they,
Yeah, I can get with her. Yeah, do you have, if you have a phone or email or whatever.
What's that?
I can get you a number. She probably won't have home.
The lady who initiates the petition for Vernon Avenue.
Talk loud, we can't hear you.
Okay.
Judy Jackson, she had knee surgery, and she called me today and wanted to know if she needed to be here. And I told her I didn't think so. That was that necessary that she be here. The alley were vacated. It's grown over the grass. And it kind of goes straight and back across like that.
Yeah, the portion that would be vacated, well, the portion of Vernon that goes north, and there's a portion that goes south, the south portion that goes over to the Metro Housing fence and then over
Walnut Street.
towards Walnut Street, yeah.
Okay.
And part of it's already fenced over, and part of it has outbuildings. So I mean, it's already built on, actually.
Okay.
Is there any public, people here from the public who want to talk about it, or?
There's actually a gentleman out there that's, he's requesting the alley vacation at the old friend's house. So that would be,
That's the next one.
yeah, that's the next one, it's 7920.
So is there
Oh, no, that's in the, yeah, 17920.
So is there anybody out there for the Vernon Avenue? The Vernon Avenue, is there anybody out there for Vernon Avenue?
No, not that I know of.
Want me to ask to make sure, or
Uh,
do we know, we know that
You can double check for Vernon Alley.
Are any of you here for the
Are
Vernon Alley?
anyone here for Vernon Alley vacation? For the West High Street?
They are here if you have questions.
Or do you want them to come in?
They said if there were any questions that they had, and otherwise they just wanted to listen in. Okay.
How we doing?
Good.
Early this morning.
Okay.
If
Take
one
it.
or all.
This is, I just want you guys to hear me.
Okay.
Aaron Miller, I'm the attorney who filed the petition, reviewed everything that was filed with the county or with the city. Looks like all the utilities, everybody signed off on it, so I think we're in good shape. The only thing, and I don't know if this, once the ordinance is signed, in the chain of title and one of the deeds, it does reference that if the alley's ever vacated, that the entire alley goes back to the property owner. I don't know if that's an issue for you guys. Obviously, I've discussed it with the county, and I'll kind of coordinate them when they actually record that ordinance.
Is this First Avenue?
Yeah, this is.
No, this is West.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I should have said which one. Matters 179-20. But that, I think, is really the only thing there was. It's a little quirky, because usually when you vacate the alleys, they split to each side of the property owners. But again, when this property was subdivided, they did include, a reservation in that old deed, so.
So which address would it go back to?
Mr. Stanfield, that's that property address. I don't have that off the top of my head.
I think it's.
Yeah, 209, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Any questions?
Any other questions?
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, if there's no further questions on our public hearing, I'd like a motion to exit our public hearing.
Make a motion to exit the public hearing and you're back in council.
Second.
All right, clerk, could you please take the roll?
Robinson?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Hitt?
Yes.
Blazer?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Okay, we exited our public hearing. On to audience concerns. We do have two people here this evening to express their concerns about some legislation that we have here. I'm going to call Corey Sinclair. Hello, Corey.
Hello, thank you guys for having me.
Yeah, you have 5 minutes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, I know the ordinance currently states no poultry developing any kind. Can I take this off?
If you'd like.
Okay. It might be easier to use.
Corey Sinclair.
Corey Sinclair. We moved here in 2016. And the first thing I did was look up the ordinance for chickens. We purchased 1.77 acres on Lafayette Street, which is an unusual lot size this close to town. Our intention was to use most of our land for garden and chickens. The chickens would have been contained the way that I grew up raising them. But when I looked up the ordinance, it said no chickens at all. I respected that. Started talking to more people in the community over the last couple of years. Some people had fears. Some people showed interest. And so I took a little time just to research in central Ohio and northeast Ohio some ways that people went around solving some of their fears and anxiety over the issue. I found that a lack of knowledge or slow change to city policy was part of the problem. A main concern of many people within city limits is noisy roosters, right? Another concern is chickens attracting vermin and the like. But what we know from OSU services, what we know from places like Rodale Institute, which promote organic farming and self-sufficiency, give really detailed practices in order to equip people to do so, and do so safely. So what I propose is something a little different. We have two organizations here. We're so close to OSU. We have such a great 4-H program. Is I would suggest that we don't have chicken coops that change landscapes, that they be simplified, not on footers, but more of a shed style. Chickens not allowed in the home, because that does introduce that issue that most people are concerned about. And the highlights of having chickens at home. They're used, at least for my experience, for weed removal, natural fertilizer, and insect control. Cities with chickens that surround us are like Hilliard and Gahanna and even some Columbus. Regulations that they've made, which I think are completely applicable, is they restrict the number of chickens allowed per household depending upon your lot location, size, and acreage. That would be up for all of you to decide what would be appropriate for each household. I love the idea of 4-H getting involved. Maybe they could come into each home or property to make sure that the chickens are being attended to properly, everybody's educated with up-to-date information every year. And the annual fee I've seen range anywhere from $20 to like $40. Me personally, my husband as well, we wouldn't mind paying a $40 fee per year to keep our chickens. And we don't mind obeying the rules and reviews that are necessary to do so. So those are just a few highlighted ideas that I have. And I think you're done.
Thank you. Does anyone have questions?
So most of it, you saw they would prefer chickens be based on the size of your lot, not just every lot get an X amount of chicken.
Each community is different. So each, like Bedford had a big ordeal for years and then even went through a lawsuit.
Yeah.
Because the city of Bedford is more condensed population than we are here in London. So that had to go through several reviews and a lot of conversations. Smaller towns like ours, smaller lots that were an acre or a half an acre averaged about 2 chickens, maybe 3 or 4 at max. Larger toward the 2 acre or plus was whatever the council felt comfortable. So some people were permitted to have 6 to 10. Some were permitted to have more than that. So there was a lot of variance, and it was very much a community decision so that everybody felt safe, everybody felt heard, and that problems were solved sufficiently. The one thing that did stand out was the rooster issue. Now, most city planners and whatnot chose to not have roosters at all unless you had significant acreage. So we're talking 3 acres plus, then you could have roosters and hens. A lot of the smaller ones were just hens. Some people kept them for pets. Some people kept them for eggs. Some people kept meat chickens. I'm not sure if you guys wanted to make specifications for those things either. But those were different ideas that I came across in my research that I thought I'd present to you as options to think about.
Okay.
Not having a rooster is not a big deal to me. I want to respect my neighbors too. I have 2 elderly neighbors. I have one that's 92 and one that's 98. So
A lot of things you brought up are in the legislation already, so, I mean, I guess that's good that it's in there.
yeah, it's a conversation that just needs to continue, I think.
As far as lot sizes and the number of chickens you could have, and no roosters, and not free range. And
Yeah.
so I think we addressed all that you brought up.
The only concern I had is like we were confused because when I called in 2016, they said I couldn't have any at all. And we have 1.77 acres, so I was a little confused because it's sizable. There's distance from all of my neighbors, and there's 0.77 of it that I can't really put a building on that's just getting mowed right now. So I would like to use that as a garden. I would like to have it maintained so that I can let the chickens take care of pests and do some weed for me, but I don't want to do that without permission.
Okay, any further questions? All right, thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Also in audience concerns, we have Megan and Michael Murphy, okay. Please step to the podium. You have 5 minutes. State your name and address.
All right, I'm Megan, this is Michael Murphy. We live at 62 Arlington Avenue, London, Ohio. So, we purchased our first home here in London and moved in April of last year. With the goal of being a little more self-sustainable, we decided to start raising egg-laying hens at the beginning of the COVID pandemic this past March. This was the first global pandemic we've ever experienced, and seeing grocery store shelves empty was a pretty unnerving sight. So my husband spent hours planning and constructing a custom coop and run. $1,000+ later, we had a beautiful home for our feathered pets. 5 months after starting our project, we were sent a zoning violation for owning chickens. We had no idea that chickens weren't allowed in a farming town like London. It hadn't even crossed our minds that our chickens were illegal. So we got to work contacting who we could in the London government to see what we could do to save our chickens. We reached out to Mayor Patrick Foster, Law Director Jennifer Hitt, and several city council members. Overall, we received relatively positive feedback. This outreach led us to Brian Robinson, who was in the process of gathering information to pass new legislation that would allow backyard chickens. He surveyed our chicken setup and took notes for the new legislation. We let him know that we were open to having anyone visit our setup who may have doubts about chickens. A couple things about our coop. It's located at the back of our property behind a large building. It's not visible from any road. The coop itself is 4 foot by 8 foot with plenty of roosting bars for our hens. The run is 16 foot by 10 foot, allowing ample space for them to run around and play. It's fenced in with heavy-duty chicken wire on all sides, plus a top enclosure to deter predators. It's clean. There's no wafting aroma that would even indicate there are chickens living on our property. While legislation was being written, we wanted to keep things moving as much as we could on our end. So we created a petition to help raise awareness and gain community support. Being new residents of London, we don't know many people in the community, so we put together a website that told our story and housed the petition. So far, we have over 240 signatures from people who support backyard chickens. We also recently started a Facebook group called Poultry Protectors as a means to unite local chicken lovers and also share updates on the new legislation status. There's a lot to love when it comes to raising chickens. We love that we're taking steps to be more self-sustainable. We love consuming fresh eggs where we know exactly where they came from. We love that we're able to raise these tiny little fuzzballs into happy, mature chickens. We love that we're able to feed them kitchen scraps that would otherwise go to a landfill. We love that we're able to recycle their dirty litter into our garden to help improve soil richness for our vegetables next year. We and our neighbors, Charlie's here, love watching our hens interact with one another. Each one of them has their own personality that you might not expect as a group. We love our chickens. It's been almost 3 months since we received that zoning violation, and here we are at a council meeting that will ultimately determine the fate of our chickens. All of this is a long-winded explanation to say that your vote affects real people. If you're saying no, you're saying no to self-sustainability. You're saying no to my husband. You're saying no to me. You're saying no to every family wanting to be more independent. So when the time comes to vote yes or no on this new legislation, I hope you choose yes. Thank you for your time. And do you have any questions?
Do you know the signatures that you got that are in town? Which
Roughly-
wards they come from?
Yeah, it was about 120 from London.
And which wards, the council wards? Like Arlington is Ward 4,
Oh,
over behind Walmart is Ward 1.
I don't know the specific wards, we just asked for zip code, so about 120 of them were from zip code 431.
What is the size of the lot?
About 3/4 acre.
You have anything behind your house at all, or just a field?
Just a field and some railroad tracks.
And how large did you say the run area is?
The run.
Roughly 16 by 10.
16 by 10.
And if you guys want to look at the setup at all, there's pictures on our website. It's called poultryprotectors.org.
Or you can come look at it in person.
Yeah, we're more than welcome to have anyone come out and take a look if there's any concerns.
And what do you do with your waste material?
We just told it into our garden stream. So the way my husband designed the coop, it's easy to just push it all out with a push broom onto a cart, and you just throw it in the garden until they're ready. So.
Okay, any further questions? Okay, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much.
Good presentation.
Thank you.
Okay, on to our committee reports. Mrs. Russell? Okay. Mr. Peters? Did you?
Oh, tell me you have finance meeting now. 6 o'clock.
Finance money, 6
Yeah,
o'clock?
that's all I have, finance
All right.
meeting at 6 o'clock.
Mr. Peters?
All I have is that public service meeting November 12th, 1 o'clock.
Okay.
It's a Thursday this month.
Okay. Ms. Robinson?
I have nothing.
All right. That's great.
I have nothing except public safety meeting will be this coming Tuesday, the 10th, at 6 p.m. Either in here or back in the conference room.
Okay. Mr. Hickey?
I have nothing.
I'm the same, concur.
All right.
Mr. Just been dealing with mine in legislation.
Okay. All right, thank you. City official reports? Anything?
Yeah, I've got it.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thanks to everyone for coming out. I want to start off with the couple that was just in there. No matter what you feel about the chicken legislation, and if you're for it or against it, or if citizens are for it or against it, you really have to give it up to them for doing the governmental process, right? They went and got petitions, they talked to council members, they talked to the administration, they set up websites and Facebook page, just to get their point across and let you guys understand where they're coming from. So I salute them. I wish, as we always say, we wish more citizens would get involved in things like this. So for them to go to so many measures to get the information to you is pretty cool. So kudos to them. I do want to congratulate everyone, all the local officials who won their elections. Congratulations to them. With that being said, I do want to talk about the presidential race, or you might want to call it a marathon. I did make a statement on social media, but I would like to read it today. This election is important, but we need to remember to treat others the way you want to be treated. When the dust settles and the election is over, no matter what side you are on, citizens need to win with grace or lose with dignity. This country needs to come together for a better future, no matter who the president is, and being divisive is not the answer. So before you post something on social media or make a statement out in public that would add to the division of America, please take a step back and think, is this the best thing for our country, our kids, and the betterment of society? And when I was going through this, writing this post the other day, I started looking up some quotes, and Henry Ford had a great quote. Coming together is a beginning, keeping together is progress, working together is success. So I just want to kind of start off with that, and, you know, social media is just so crazy right now. The past few days have just been nuts, and, you know, like I said, whatever happens, we have to come together. We have to come together as a community, as a state, and as a nation to make sure that we can get through whatever's thrown at us, get through this COVID thing, get through the presidential election, and quit being so divisive on this. So, as you all know now, Safety Service Director Joe Mosier will be stepping down in January. I'd like to take a moment and thank Mr. Mosier for his service to the City of London. When I ran for mayor, I knew that I needed a great safety service director to accomplish the important goals that I had for the city. So when Joe and I initially talked, he said, hey, look here, I'm going to give you 4 to 8 years, and I promise you that. So here we sit in my second term,
and he's decided to step down. I do appreciate his dedication to the city and fulfilling his promise to me. The city has taken great strides over the past 5 years, and it would not have been possible without Joe. You guys see Joe all the time. His first one here, last one to leave at every meeting, working hard all the time. So I just wanted to publicly thank him and wish him the best of luck in the future. And I have named Rex Castle as his successor, and he will pick up right where Joe leaves off. With Mr. Castle's background in business and history and business in his history and local government, I know he will do a great job. I'm excited for the future, and we will continue to grow and improve London. I know some of you guys have reached out to me and felt that Rex was a great choice, so I appreciate you guys standing behind me on that. I think he will be a great choice. You guys have most of you have gotten to work with him, especially the stuff he did on finance was just amazing. So, and I really like it when they come from private business also. So I think we're just going to keep on trucking and keep doing the great things that we're doing, and hopefully be a seamless transition. Just want to let you guys know that even through COVID, our economic development is going strong. We are seeing more businesses coming to London and houses being built. I've also been in talks with developers on a restaurant, condos, and homes. All the conversations are very positive, and I want to thank City Council for your guys' work on this also, because I do believe a big part of these current conversations is the CRA that we built and that you guys passed, the Community Reinvestment Area, where we made the whole City of London CRA. I know for a fact a couple of these projects wouldn't have happened without the CRA. It just fiscally wouldn't have been able to be done by them, but with the CRA, they feel a little more at ease, especially through these times of COVID. Speaking of COVID, cases are rising and really surging around the state. If you guys got to watch Governor DeWine today or look at any of the numbers, I just ask that everyone does the right thing. Protect the vulnerable, wear a mask, social distance, and do not congregate in large groups. Do I like wearing this mask? No, I don't. I don't like wearing it at all. Do I like getting out at the grocery store and taking 20 steps and then having to turn around and go back because I forgot my mask? No, I don't. Do I like not being able to go to parties or throw a party for a family member or go to big functions like the Bonanza, Chambers Bonanza, or Heartfelt Holidays and things like that? No. I want to do all these things, right? And I know you guys want to do them all too. But I do these things because I want to do my part so we can get past this, and so the governor will take off regulations, right? So the quicker we can get rid of COVID, the quicker we can get back to normal life. So now on to my mayor fun fact. I gotta look it up now. It's another thing I was going to take my mask off for facial recognition. So my mayor fun fact today will be the number 4,636. That's 4,636 feet. That is how many feet of multi-purpose walking paths we have in County Park now. So as you guys have noticed, Access County still has funds that they fundraise and they are still using towards that park. And we're able to put in more multi-purpose walking paths. And I think now more than ever, those things are a huge asset. You know, you can't get out and do the things you want to do, but one thing you can do, if you're staying distance from people, you can take your mask off and take a nice walk around the park. So, I want to thank Access County, Noah's Playground, everyone that was involved in those initial things. And they still do have a little bit of money left, and they are looking to hopefully build a few more things for the older kids. So we can hopefully kind of shift the older kids off of the not small playground, but the playground that we like to use for the younger kids, and put them in a different area, and let them do more stuff that is would be more fun for someone that is 12, 13, 14, 15, somewhere in there. So that's all I have. Do you guys have any questions or anything for me?
Just like to publicly thank Joe Mosier. He's been a big help to me. When I come on council, I was like, oh my sat with me, instructed me, been very patient with me. He's a hell of a man. I'll
He
say
is,
that.
he is a hell of a man, and he probably got that patience from dealing with me, because I'll tell you, he is one of my mentors. He has taught me so much, not just about government or business, but about life in general. So he'll be greatly missed, but we'll try to drag him back every once in a while to come in and say hi to you guys. So, no. Would you say no, Joe? No way? Is he hiding already? Anything else from anybody? Appreciate you guys, thank you.
Thank you. All right. On to our old business. Ready for the fourth reading. Ordinance 17820, motion to read by title and number.
Second.
All right, clerk, would you please read the ordinance?
Ordinance 17820, an ordinance vacating an alley.
So I guess we talked about this a little bit already. But this is the alley that runs off of Vernon south towards Metro Housing fence line and then east over to Walnut Street. Like I said earlier, the utilities were all signed off on. The wastewater would like to have access to that because there's a manhole cover in that area. And then Ohio Edison would like to have access to that still in order to service electrical needs.
Okay. Anybody have any questions on this one? Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to adopt.
Okay, then we have a motion to adopt. Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Clerk, would you please take the roll call?
Hayes,
Yes.
Hitt,
Yes.
Blazer,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
Motion carries. On to ordinance 17920, a motion to read by title and number.
So moved.
Second.
All right, clerk, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 17920, an ordinance vacating an alley.
So this is an alley on West High Street between 201 West High and 209 West High. All the utilities have been signed off on that also. Petition has been signed by neighbors. There's no objections to the utility companies or neighbors.
Any further questions on ordinance 17920?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt.
All right, we have a motion to adopt. Can we get a second?
I'll second.
Clerk, please take the roll call.
Hitt,
Yes.
Blazer,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
Motion carries. On to new business, resolution 19620, a motion to read by title or number.
Second.
Resolution 19620, a resolution authorizing the Safety Service Director to apply for and accept a grant from the Ohio Department of Commerce for Marcus Radio Systems.
So, this would allow the Safety Service Director to apply for a separate grant for the Marks Radio System, which is the multi-agency radio communication system that the fire department uses. And this would basically just help the freight costs in the city by applying for the grant and accepting it.
And just like most grants, I'm sure there's time constraints on this one, where time is of the essence. Okay.
How much is it right now?
I'm not sure. I think that
Joe? Mr. Mosier? I have a question on the grant for the Marks system. Do you have an idea of the dollar amount?
It seemed to me like it was between 5,000 and 8,000, somewhere in there. It's not a lot of money. It helps to make the payment that we make, and like, it won't make the whole payment, because I think makes half.
To use the system that's on fire radios. Yeah. Page cost about that.
Okay.
I'd like to make a motion to suspend the three reading rule.
Second.
All right, clerk, please take the roll call.
Blazer,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Pitt?
Yes.
And a motion to adopt.
Second.
Okay, clerk, please take the roll.
Smith?
Yes.
Russell?
Yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Pitt?
Yes.
Blazer?
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. On to ordinance 19720, a motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, clerk.
Ordinance 19720, an ordinance declaring the necessity for planting, maintaining, trimming, and removing shade trees in and along the streets of the city of London, estimating the cost thereof, and providing for the levy of special assessment.
So this is a renewal of the taxes for the tree commission based on property values. So it allows the county to get those taxes from the citizens. It amounts to $40,000, so it's like it's based on property values, so it's probably 0.1, 0.2 mil, so it's pretty small. But it would bring in revenue of $40,000 for the tree commission, which provides services for planting trees or dead wood trees or cutting down dead trees in the city property areas.
Okay.
So this is the tree commission, right?
Yeah.
I do have a problem with where they put the trees. You know there are over 50 trees at the Yelp Park. Is that the same people put those trees up? At the dog park, there are 50.
They were requested to be put up.
Now, I asked Tammy, and Tammy said she did not request
It
this.
was requested to be put
50
up.
trees, 50?
I'm on the tree commission, and it was requested by the mayor. That we
Oh, by the
put
mayor.
And Tammy was on board with that because we wanted them to grow so there would be more shade than just the shelter house we put out.
Okay, but there are 50 trees, 50.
Okay.
50.
Okay.
And I, when I first saw them, I said, well, they're too close together. And they're just, I could see some trees, but I saw 50 trees. And I don't know who, I mean, do they have to clear it through your office to plant the trees in certain areas?
They are a board, which is a public meeting that any council member can come to.
I got that, Pat.
And every year they come up with new projects.
Yes.
When we built that dog park, before we put the shelter house up, Tammy talked about putting trees around it. So
Okay, so let's go elsewhere in the city. Do they clear it with you guys? Because first of all, I've had 3 trees in front of my house.
That is city, the trees are put in city right away.
That, I understand that, Bill. But I'm saying, and I went down Richmond today, and they are the trees with the little ribbons on them, right? The trees with the little ribbons, are those the ones we're planting?
But on
Yeah, no, on the street also, right? On city property, right?
on the right of way.
On the right of way, yeah, the right of way. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about all throughout the city. The Yelp Park's just one. I go down, I just question where they're putting the trees at. And because on Richmond Avenue, there's these 2 beautiful big trees. And they're only probably from here to maybe the front of the building, the 2 big trees. And then they plant 2 little trees right in the middle of it. And I look down through there and I see these 2 big trees, and I see them planting 2 little trees. Do they clear it with the administration? Maybe you, Bill?
Bill's on the commission.
Okay, fine. Do they clear it?
We talked about it.
Or does the tree commission decide where the trees go?
Yeah, we talked about it at tree commission meeting. John Stahl, me and Bill,
Yeah.
and usually Pat and Joe are there too.
So if you say there's a tree that goes here, 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 that's it. And so because what's happening, we've got trees downtown, the sidewalks are coming, they're not maintaining the trees, for one thing. They're putting them up and they're not maintaining it. They're leaving that on. One of the property owners in front of the stores are supposed to maintain theirs, which they don't do. Property owners don't maintain it, which they don't do. So they just keep planting trees and trees, and we give them $40,000 to just keep planting trees. Let them maintain some.
What do you mean by maintain?
How?
Because they do, I mean, we do deadwood trees.
Yeah, we
do cut
trim
out.
them, we kill, when trees are dying or are dead, we're the ones who take them out of the right of way.
That's what that money's used.
And that's what, you know, but if somebody calls and says, I want this tree gone, if it's a big, beautiful living tree, we don't take it out.
No, I'm talking about the actual putting in the trees. Are we doing it to, because there's just so many trees.
To save the
I look
earth.
around, I see a tree with a ribbon on it, and I'm like, there's 20 down this street, and 20 down this street, and 20, and I'm like, gosh. It seems like that's all I see are trees being planted.
Yeah, it's a good thing, it's good for the
Well, yeah,
environment.
sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes it's not.
They don't just put them in the right of way, they're just planted a bunch in the park.
Yeah, I saw where they got 2 rows in the park.
Yeah.
They got a row right up along the path, and
Along Park Avenue too.
then about 20 feet down into the land, they got about 7 more.
Yeah,
So
and
you
our,
have to
and our,
see space in between them.
and our access road over here has trees lining it
Yeah,
now.
I saw those too. I thought that's kind of silly too. The placing of them there, I just,
They were placed there to keep people from driving through the yard.
well, if they drive through the yard, they'll drive right through that tree too, Bill. Trees don't stop them, they go right through trees. I just question the number of trees they're planting, where they're putting them, and we're giving $40,000 and almost every year to do it.
How much of that 40,000 is allocated to trim trees and take them down?
It could be.
It depends on the year.
Yeah, if we get, like, the year we had the ash board, I don't know if nobody was probably on council then, and it ate up Park Avenue. Does anybody remember that, when those ash boards came in and ate up all those trees? It was a terrible thing all over the United States, these ash boards came in. And all the money that year, and part of the money for the next year, was to clear all those trees out so they quit infecting all the other trees. Same thing happened down Sheffield, right? Sheffield had a bunch where the ash boards got into them. And we took 1 year and just cleared all them out, and we didn't plant anything new. So, it just depends, it differs from year to year.
But mostly it's planting. Can you say mostly it's planting?
No, I wouldn't say that, because a lot of it is the maintenance and the cutting down. Because it costs a lot more money to cut a tree down than to plant a tree. You know what I'm saying? So have we planted more trees than cut trees down? Yeah, but money-wise, I wouldn't say it's really too far off from each other, because if anybody's had a tree cut down, you guys know how expensive that is. If anybody's had a tree planted, it's very nominal compared to cutting a tree down.
I think John said, I talked to him today, he said we ordered 118 trees, and I believe they were $35 per tree. So that's out of the 40,000, that's about 3,000, 3,500 for those to be planted. So the rest of that money, each year it's expended completely, I believe, is that right?
We don't completely spend it, so if it's not completely spent, then it's rolled over and it sits in the city's fund.
So I mean, probably a larger portion of that goes for trimming trees or dead woody trees or cutting out dead trees, that kind of
I
stuff.
mean, on Park Avenue, I know we spent roughly around $3,000 or $4,000 removing some trees on Park Avenue this year.
Who plants the trees?
This year, it was,
Matheson, it's been different, we get bids for it.
Oh, okay.
We, just like we do with anything else, we try to do what's best for the city money-wise and recordable and all that, so.
Brad Gorman's removed most of the trees this year, trimming and removal that we did. Peterman did stuff before. He was a cheaper bid.
So what type of roller do you usually have? How much dollars do you usually have left over?
It just depends on the year. Like last year, we had no roller. Because of removal and stuff, we had nothing.
Do you have any idea how much is in the account now in that?
The shade tree assessment?
Yeah, how much is it?
The 75,000.
75,000 is in there now?
That's what it was like on this.
On the new paperwork from Kenna yesterday or this week? So it has 75,000 in it. So how much? I wonder how much.
Beginning, no, I'm sorry, 42,000.
42,000 in there?
43,000, it's the beginning of the year, 43,572.
That would have been at the Start.
Yeah.
And how much is,
And at the end-
unencumbered?
This thing keeps jumping back.
You gotta look at the unexpended.
Yeah.
Yeah, unexpended is,
Thirty-three.
yeah, that's 75,966.
75,000 is unencumbered?
Shade tree assessment? Is that the line? Then I'm looking at the wrong one.
Yeah, I think you're looking at the wrong one.
Not shade tree, is it?
You're not looking at the fund report.
That's what I'm at.
You're on the
Year-to-date fund?
You're on the fund report?
Year-to-date fund, right? Yep.
So it shows about
I-
75,000 now.
If it's a shade tree assessment, your unencumbered balance is 75,966. If I'm looking at this correct. Which I've never been smart, so.
What's it listed under, Brian?
I think it's under shade tree assessment, which would be line 220, fund 220. Does that sound right? No? Okay.
You have.
The line's coming up here, but do you have any suggestions? Anyone have any suggestions? Or-
This is a normal, is this a normal expense?
Yeah, it's one that we give to.
Okay,
Right.
It has to be renewed every 2 years.
gotcha.
Now, is that,
Unencumbered is 75,
so it is 75, yeah, mine's turned upside.
yeah, that's the unencumbered.
Yeah. So is, so I don't know, is that something that we should visit with that committee? Is that
I don't think
an
if you have
amount
any
that we
questions
need
or
to
concerns,
change?
you need to go to the tree commission.
Yeah.
Talk to them then.
Yeah, that's what I think
So
maybe,
does this, I'm sorry, does this money come out of just the city's general, I mean, where does the money come from?
It's based on property tax.
But I mean,
Property
who
values.
pays it?
The county collects it, and then,
So when do they start collecting this one that we're talking about today?
I'm not sure when that's.
You're a year behind on talking.
Yeah.
So you have to renew it every 2 years.
And I mean, if you guys have projects you want the city to do, just let us know.
Right, that's why I just said, I recommend going to tree commission,
Yeah.
you better talk to them.
Yeah. It sounds like,
Yeah, I
yeah.
should go to
I
the
think-
meeting, because I do question that where they get the trees and how many trees they
Yeah,
put
that
up.
may be
How often they
definitely
put them up.
something
I
to discuss
do
further with the
question.
tree commission.
Okay.
Thank you, Mrs. Russell, for bringing that to all of our attention.
Well, I just have 3 trees in front of my house,
All right.
and I don't have a tree now.
That's probably why you breathe so well, all that good oxygen coming off those trees.
Well, trust me,
I think you can petition the tree commission to have it taken out, I believe.
All right, so do
oh, they
you,
told me that they put their.
is there, that's what I thought it would be.
I never heard of that.
I thought it would be. So there is an emergency clause on here, do we want to,
Yeah, because we gotta get it to the county. They will, the county will, if you guys, I thought this question will come up, it doesn't have any millage in it. You guys see that?
Yeah,
So they adjust it to, so it hits $40,000. So the county will do that when they get it, but they'll only collect 40.
So is there any big projects to
we just go.
plan that's gonna take up some of that unencumbered budget? 75,000.
I think,
I need to look at that number.
I think
I don't
John
know.
does a plan every year for the Tree City USA. He has to do a plan.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think he's already submitted it this year, but if that's something, you come to tree commission, there's something you want that money to go for, he could put that into the plan for next year,
Yeah.
which would be a good idea.
okay, there is, like I said, there is an emergency clause on here, so what are our wishes?
No, I have, I just do, I'll go to a meeting and talk to them about it, yeah. to see what their process is and tell them how I feel about it. Because really, it's not a money thing, it's just a choice thing, where they're putting them at and how many they're putting them, and why they're putting them there. And is it to beautify, to safety, or,
I'll make a motion to suspend for reading.
Second. And a second. All right, clerk, please take the roll call.
Russell?
yes.
Peters?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Hitt?
Yes.
Laser?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes. Okay, and then a motion to adopt.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
And a second. Clerk, please take the roll call.
Peters?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Hayes?
Yes.
Hitt?
Yes.
Laser?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Russell?
All right, motion carries. On to ordinance 19820, motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
And a second. All right, clerk, please read the ordinance.
Ordinance 19820, an ordinance amending 618 of the codified ordinances.
Okay, so this is the chicken ordinance that we're talking about. I think you all got the attachment. Here, I think most of the things that were mentioned are addressed in this. There would be a $50 permit fee one time. It's just single-family residences. No more than 6 chickens or quarter-acre lots or 10 or larger lots, but I think I want to amend that. And no free-range chickens, no roosters permitted. Chickens be housed, not be housed in residences, porches, or attached garage. Must be kept in a secure enclosed, shielded from the street, which it fronts, and shielded from any predatory animals. You would have a minimum of 1 square foot per chicken. The enclosure would be 8 feet from the property line and 15 feet from the neighboring residence. And the run could be 8 by 8 or 64 square feet. Lots less than a quarter acre or 10 by 10 for lots larger than half an acre. So that needs amended too because there's a gap in there that needs to be changed. Sale of eggs is prohibited. Dead chickens, waste material would have to be bagged and disposed of.
So when they, I'm sorry, but so when they're using it for the garden, they're not going by they wouldn't be going by
I mean, we come in to allow for
fertilizer.
composting for augmenting soil gardens or whatever. And no piling of waste materials at the residence. Feed would be stored in a rodent-proof container. Owners shall control rodents via tracking on a regular basis. The chicken coop run area would be cleaned regularly to prevent offensive odors, rodents, flies, disease, etc. No person shall fail to comply with any of these sections involving the care and responsibility of animals. And it would be a minor misdemeanor on the first offense, and a second offense would be a 4th-degree misdemeanor. And they would possibly have to forfeit their animals.
The one-time permit fee of $50, why not year the $50 fee, seeing how this is going to be enforced? Should we have funds to start paying an enforcement officer to do this kind of thing? So $50 yearly fee, our enforcement officers get paid.
Not sure how much the enforcement officer gets paid, or how much the officer can go out and check a chicken coop area, but compared to everything else, I think
I mean, I think on that side, the reason it makes sense is being able to know who's still doing it, because I mean, once you pay for it, you don't know when a person leaves or comes back. But it also kind of makes sure that you clean it up every year at least.
Because that's going to be my other thing about the waste. I don't think it should be able to put in composters. I mean,
That's fine.
that is very foul odor. I mean, like I said, 70 Chandler, they got a big old pile
Yeah, I guess that
of
would
chicken waste, rabbit waste, and it's water.
Yeah, I guess that would be part of
And it's horrible looking too.
putting it on garden would not be violent.
Well, if they put it on and then till it in.
Till it in.
But if they
Yeah,
leave it
any
sit,
fertilizer,
it's
that
just-
sounds good. But, you know, you don't want gigantic piles of it.
Right.
Yeah.
I think it should, the way that it's read, it should stay that way because it's piles of compost. We're not allowed to have piles of compost, correct?
Right, you can't pile it, but,
So, I
I
mean,
mean, she was saying that they put it on the garden, which would get rid of it, it wouldn't be piled there to be smelly. And help with the soil.
You know, I just, the enforcement of it too, I just mean that people didn't have their chickens, and there's really nobody who made sure that they're clean, they're not active. I had chickens next to me for like 20 years, and you smell them. I mean, and did they get a lot of eggs from them? They give you eggs, yeah. They are good eggs. I think per chicken once, how many eggs a day? One egg per chicken per day. That's it for laying. That's it for laying. Just one, so for somebody to have, what? They said the smaller the lot, the less chickens. We have 2 chickens.
Yeah, well, this says quarter acre or less would be 6, or half of that would be 10. But there's a gap between there, a quarter acre and half acre, so I was thinking of, you know, amending it to half an acre or less would be 6 chickens, or above that would be 10.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor?
So I think they make some valid points. We need to know who is going to regulate this. If it gets thrown on Paul, it could be quite the headache for him with all the other stuff that he has going on, if you try to throw it on him. But, you know, it's not just the complaint to see if they have the license, it's gonna be, did they build the thing right, is it, you know, the right size or whatever. And then I know when you guys first started talking about this, I brought up the suggestion that you maybe have the neighbors sign off on it and say, okay, I don't mind if my neighbor has chickens within the city limit, because those are gonna be the people that call, and they're gonna be upset. It's gonna be the neighbors that abut their property. Those are gonna be the people that call my office, call you guys, email you guys, because you guys passed legislation for chickens, they didn't see it in the paper, whatever reason, right? And they're gonna be the ones that are gonna be super upset about it. I mean, I know if somebody wanted to put chickens next to my house, I would have, you know, I'd probably say yes, but I'd like to have the right to say no, you know? Or do it like a, that'd be too much time and effort, but I was thinking almost like an alley vacation where people come in and say, hey, I'd like to do this, and you gotta let the neighbors know, and they have a chance to say, no, I don't want that one by my house. So, but that's gonna be your biggest complainants, is gonna be the neighbors that abut their property. I can tell you that right now.
And sometimes not only do you have neighbors beside you, you might have a neighbor behind you.
Yeah, no, any abutting, yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Hook on, so it's,
Yeah, just like an alley, any abutting, so the ones behind it, anybody that touches their property. Bill?
Yeah,
Yes,
Mr.
question.
Paul?
Well, I can tell you now, I've raised several hundred chickens at a time. So, but, what's much different than some of our neighbors around here that's got 10 and 12 dogs in their yards?
I don't think they're allowed to have that many dogs in the yard.
They won't do anything about it if they do. So I called, we used to have your stuff.
Back to the enforcement.
back and forth, but then now we have chickens and dogs, nobody knows anything.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, we have an issue now with dogs, and we're trying to work with the
I mean, our whole neighborhood, they had
local police, we do have.
3 dogs that ended up, one of them had puppies, and had like 9 puppies, and they got the puppies, and the puppies bred, and they got those puppies, and couldn't get anybody to do anything about it.
You know, you gotta buy a dog license every year. So you can have a permit, I think $50 is pretty excessive, you know.
Now, when you have to check on how big the coop is and how many chickens they're having?
Yeah, the dog license is about
Actually send it all
$35.
out to,
Said they will.
Yeah,
If it's by my house.
because he's the
they're not
person
keeping
to,
it, yeah.
yeah, he's the
If it's by
person
my
to take a
house,
look at
they're
that.
like.
right, but no, I'm
He's
talking
already
clean.
Oh, if they're not keeping
I
it.
don't, okay,
yeah.
I think it'd be ridiculous, and I didn't see, maybe it's in there, we do not need to send anybody to inspect chicken coops being built to specs, that's ridiculous. We don't do that for dog houses, we don't do that for anything else, nor would I ever want to load Paul up to have him go out and say, your chicken coop is not 8 by 9, that's silliness.
Yeah, but what you'll do is, I talked about the neighbor, somebody's gonna call and say, I don't want this, and then we'll be like, well, it's illegal, and they'll be like, well, they got 14 chickens.
Mhm.
So who's gonna go out there and count the
Yeah,
chickens?
again, that's how I'm arguing, we're not gonna send Paul out or anybody out to make sure that their chicken coop is built to specs, to have it actually inspected.
I think you have to have it in there though, because if not, you're
Yeah,
gonna.
it's in here that says it needs to be built a certain way, because,
I think we can say that, and there could be a complaint filed, but to send someone out to inspect that chicken coop is silly. Very silly. And you're giving neighbors too much authority to dictate what their neighbor's doing.
Yeah.
We don't do that for anything else.
We did talk about that, whether to have people sign off or not. That's kind of what came up was, like if you have a neighbor with yucky dogs, you don't have to get permission to have those dogs,
No, you don't
your
have to get
neighbor or
permission for
whatever.
that.
So we kind of left that out for that reason.
And I get along with all my neighbors. I have no problem. I think all my neighbors would happily sign off on chickens. We don't do that for anything else. And the city doesn't need to get into neighbor disputes with people arguing over people having chickens in their backyard when we don't do that for any other animal in our city. I think most of these city limits, or 4-H gets around most of that anyways.
Well, the 4-H, yeah.
that's
they're
for
allowed
4-H.
that. They're allowed
So,
that.
That's specifically 4-H.
right, specifically for 4-H, we get around most of it anyway.
And I can see, I can already see lawsuits coming from the condo people because if we allow it for the city, why can't we have it there, even though it's a condo?
Still within the city, so.
I mean, you still have.
Okay, wait a minute now. Hold on. A condo association has far more rules than the city does.
They do.
So you can't say that because the city's going to allow chickens, that the city, the condo association is going to be able to be sued because they're going to go, well, the city lets us do it. I mean, if that was the case, then condo associations would have zero authority.
Yeah,
I mean, that's just a nil, I'm sorry, but that's a nil argument.
just like the HOAs that can dictate what their fence is.
Right, oh, yeah. You're talking about completely different things.
Be more chickens and trees in this town at some point.
As long as they move by you.
We got nature guys.
So it definitely sounds like this needs to go back to the drawing board. I've heard I heard that there are a couple of amendments that Mr. Hitt would like to make on these.
I don't know if necessarily has to go back to drawing board, but we can make the amendments. And then
So
have
you
them rewritten.
Yeah.
The amendments.
So you want to make a motion for your amendments?
Yeah.
It's got an emergency clause on it. Doesn't it?
I'm sorry.
Emergency clause.
That's just really how you want that's just.
I don't get, I don't know, why does it have an emergency clause?
This got an emergency.
Does it, 198?
It does.
Yeah.
I guess we can amend that too.
So my only question is if we take, whether we keep the, building and zoning, inspected or not. So let's say somebody has a valid complaint
Mm-hmm.
about somebody with chickens, who's gonna go out and check it? Who goes out and checks it out?
Right? If there is a valid.
Who goes and,
If I had chickens on my property right now, and my neighbor's complaining about it, who would come to my property and check out my chickens?
Right now, the zoning department does.
well, now it's the zoning department, because she said they got it.
They've already got our warning.
Right.
Or was those
So
zoning?
it's literally the exact same. It's literally the exact same. We're not changing.
That's what I'm asking.
Right, it's
I
the
just
exact
want to say-
same people. If we literally left it alone, it's the exact same people.
And then the only thing that it does do, those complaints about Chandler, it just gives more authority to make Chandler, or, I mean, I like the idea a little bit more of fines, giving them authority to building and zoning to write a fine that if they're not going to clean up their chickens, obviously, anything we do with trying to give someone a misdemeanor, I think is going to be extremely difficult. And then if you do a $10 fee every year for their chickens, that's additional revenue for the building and zoning that can go to the building and zoning, which can then lead to more hours for Paul Oswald to be paid, or an additional person to be brought on, so that we're able to enforce more codes in the future. So if you do a $50 upfront, $10 a month fee every year, just like you do your dogs.
$10 a year fee.
Yeah, $10 a year. Sorry, excuse me, thank you for correcting. $10 a year, you register that you have chickens. That's additional revenue for building and zoning. That's a win for the building and zoning. Leads to where you can enforce more. Because obviously right now, no enforcement's happening whatsoever. I mean, I could have chickens and it seems like right now I'm gonna get nothing. If Chandler, right, but is anybody complaining to Chandler?
They don't have their chickens anymore, but the chicken shit pile's still there.
Right. So nothing's happening.
But they got probably like 60, 70 bunnies now that go in that waste pile.
Right, so if nothing's happening with it now, why don't we try to get funds for the building and zoning so that they have more time, or we eventually bring on another person that can help us enforce the code?
Now, with those extra funds that you mentioned, would that cover an extra person?
Well, not completely, but that's always our statement. We always go, well, who's going to enforce it, who's going to enforce it? Well, why don't we raise money so that we can enforce more things, instead of waiting until it magically comes from somewhere, and then we hire on another person? Why not set up codes that bring money in to eventually make it to where we can hire someone else to enforce more codes?
Sounds like it keeps going back to what I mentioned all the time, is why don't we have our own building and zoning? That's what it keeps coming back to. It sounds like, we have so many different things happening within the city that deal with building and zoning.
Yeah.
And that just keeps popping up.
Oh, we had it at one point, and there was like 2 people.
Right.
So we didn't have enough to handle.
Right. Now we're growing, and the issue keeps
Right.
popping up in
And we
building
had
and zoning, so.
For years.
What's the issue with building and zoning?
It sounds like, we're talking about enforcement, and we're not able to have someone to enforce different things that we keep bringing up. So the idea keeps coming up of, what if we had our own building and zoning, we keep talking about.
I mean, we enforce any issue that comes up, even chickens now. If somebody calls and says, my neighbor's got chickens, Paul does go out and enforce that. It's like if people have, a bunch of trash in their backyard, or if they're not mowed or whatever. So I don't understand that.
I would disagree with that. I mean, I think we can find plenty of cases where enforcement in the city is not taking place. I mean, that's some of the complaints I get, is the code violations where things aren't enforced. I mean, literally, like, Josh was literally saying right now, Chamber Avenue has tons of chicken crap and rabbit crap. And it's like, how long has it been there? Forever. So it's like, so obviously, we're not able to enforce very much. There can't be too much enforcement taking place. I mean, am I wrong? I mean, that's one example.
Well, I'd have to go back to see if there's been a case put up on 70 Chandler, but on top of that, Paul's, go ahead.
I was gonna say, a lot of times
we don't know, we don't know everybody's backyard.
Right.
We're not allowed to go in people's backyards.
There you go.
We can't go in people's backyards. No, we can get on somebody's property that gives us permission and take pictures of backyards. But, yeah, I'd love for you guys to show me a case of where there was a code violation that was reported to the city of London that we did nothing about.
You need going into pictures of what?
I think it would be delusional to say that we don't have issues with code being enforced.
there's.
Oh, we must,
I think that was pretty silly.
I think that it is, that the upkeep and leaving that on the neighbors, you know. What I did is, I put up with it because I would rather be on good terms with my neighbors than argue with them about chickens. And our property, and I'm sure the other neighbor on the other side did the same thing too. And the couple that came in here, they are well invested in theirs. But do we expect everybody to go to that extreme?
right.
Pay $1,000 and their property's up against nothing in the back. You probably really can't sit out there on it, but you probably could.
Well, I think that goes back to the permit side of things and charging permit fees, making sure that people that are doing it are invested. And it's going to be a.
So why don't we leave this on and do it like we did the other, go back and discuss it in.
I mean, I'm not gonna pass it as an emergency.
Right, so don't we need to vote on that and just?
I mean, I'm just.
Yeah, we'll just leave it on and.
Yeah, I guess I'd like to make a motion to amend it so it's not an emergency.
Okay, so he has a motion to amend it, so it's not an emergency. Can we get a second?
Second.
Second, all right, clerk, please take the roll call.
Robinson,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hitt,
Yes.
Laser,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries, so this no longer carries the emergency clause. So our wishes are to keep it on for further discussion.
Well, also, I guess this is the appropriate place to do it, to make a motion to amend some of these other things that are in here,
Okay,
so they can be corrected and brought back next time.
well, or we can discuss them in committee and then bring it back. And-
Yeah, Andrew's right, that's what, go ahead and amend it, and that's time.
That's how we're supposed to do it.
Amend it now and then send it back to committee and bring it back.
It would have to be rewritten by
We're just leaving it
the
on.
law director.
Right,
Pretty much we're just leaving it on
On
for the next reading, so for stuff that needs to be amended,
amend it in.
go ahead and
I
amend it.
think you're right, I think you would have to amend it now.
Yeah.
Because this is changing.
Yeah, because then it would be completely different legislation.
Okay, so do you want to amend it now? Do you know what amendments you want to make?
Yes.
Okay.
On the, I kind of agree with Anthony with the fine. The more I think about it, it's like, if we do the, minor misdemeanor, it seems like that's costing us money by, the court time and all that kind of stuff, by filing that and going to court, everything. But at least with a fine, we could recoup some money back at us. If, we're working towards getting more money, not just giving it away. That way.
Yeah, and I just think right now, in like dog ordinances, everything's a misdemeanor. If we can put some fines on that, instead of misdemeanors, then we might have more response from the people that are violating the ordinances, because everything's a minor misdemeanor. I guess we'd have to take it to court and.
That's what I'm saying.
It's like a speeding ticket, you get a fine, you
Right.
get a ticket, and you pay a fine. If we could amend our ordinances to.
Be fine instead of misdemeanors.
So I guess, might have to amend each one individually, because we probably can't vote on each one altogether as a group, or as a several amendments at once.
Why couldn't you just say
Just
you
read
want
them.
to amend?
Well, I guess the amendments make a motion for is that,
Well, here's what we can do. If we don't have to do it tonight, we can speak to the law director, and then we could make all the amendments next week. Because then we could discuss it, or I'm sorry, not next week, next meeting, since we are gonna leave it on. And then we could make all the amendments, because law director may say, no, we can lump them all in one. And then we can discuss it, make all the amendments, vote on it, and then move on. All in one meeting when we know for sure, because, instead of us sitting here making all the, voting on each and every single amendment we want to change, we may not even have to do that. Does that make sense?
Well, and I think that once it goes to the committee, there's probably going to be even more amendments that are
Right.
that we decide to make on it that we aren't even thinking of right now.
we make the amendments and make the necessary change, because all this is pretty much a new change to this ordinance, correct?
So when it comes back out, it's not gonna be this.
So it would be this, but then we would have to go to committee.
Make the amendments there, bring it back, and vote on the amendments.
That's the correct way to do it. So you're pretty much,
Take it to committee, make the
pretty much
amendments, bring it back. and-
we're making a motion to accept these new amendments. Then we would have to go back to committee, fix it.
No.
We do not want to do that now, because we don't know if we have to do each amendment individually.
So just,
So right
So just
now,
leave it
we
on.
took off the emergency calls, leave it on.
Go back to the committee, make the amendments, bring it back, approve the amendments, once it comes back from committee. And
We
then,
may be able to just vote on all the amendments in one vote,
Right.
or individually.
I guess we has to take the emergency clause off, and then it'll just go on for next week.
right, and then go back to committee and discuss. And then we'll also check with Jennifer to make sure that we have done this the correct way.
Yes, right.
All right, on to resolution 199-20, motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
In a second, clerk, please read the resolution.
Resolution 199-20, a resolution increasing appropriations.
This is an increase, the fire department is asking for $15,000 to be moved from the health insurance and tax refunds. That tax refund line is going to be short for where they reimburse some citizens that overpay their taxes. And it has reimbursed.
Any further discussion?
One line to pay, to reimburse citizens for overpaid taxes.
Any further discussions?
Make a motion to suspend the rules.
Okay. And second, okay. Clerk, please take the roll call.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hitt,
Yes.
Blazer,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes,
Peters,
Yes.
Robinson.
yes.
Okay, and a motion to adopt.
move to adopt.
Second.
Hitt,
Yes.
Blazer,
Yes.
Smith,
Yes.
Russell,
Yes,
Peters,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Hayes.
Yes.
Motion carries. On to resolution 200-20, motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
Second.
Resolution 220, a resolution to disapprove generation fee abolishment repeal for the NCO solid waste district.
Okay, so what I'm gonna end up asking is that we'll have to amend this, but this will not be voted on tonight. And here's the reason. So, I don't think so let me just start. The NCO of the North Central Ohio is a solid waste district. Okay, what that is, we are a part of a district with Allen, Champaign, Hardin, Shelby, and Union County. The NCO was set up by the EPA, okay? We have our contract when we take our trash, our solid trash, and it's dumped at Rumpke. In a sense, their fee is in that contract. So we pay Rumpke, Rumpke pays the NCO. So years ago, the EPA realized they needed to set up programs to get recyclables out of the landfills, okay? This program here, I've spoke to them, this does not have to be an emergency, we can bring it to the next meeting, and here's why. If we pass it, let me start over with this. We are voting, as we vote on this, we are voting to cast a vote, okay? So everyone understands that. So just because we vote no, if we were to vote no and say we do not want the increase, it will still go to everyone in our districts. They will vote and they can supersede us, okay? Now, what they're telling me, and this is where I want to verify, is they're saying that if this all passes, if let's say we did vote yes, now BPU asked us to vote no, I think they need to have some more discussion on it, and I think we need to have more understanding of what this program is. Now, so what they're telling me, the NCO is telling me, is that they have invested $600,000 into our recycling system here in London. Now, I don't know how true that is, and I want to verify that. The other thing they're also telling me is that the increase will equal about $1 a ton of trash per ton that we take to Rumpke. So every 1 ton of trash we leave there, it's an additional $1 is what they're wanting to increase it to. So we already are paying, I believe, about $5 right now per ton to the NCO, okay? That's how they raise their money to pass out their grants. They're saying that if they raise it $1, it will only cost the city about $5,000 per year in additional cost to what we already pay. I need to verify that. Jack, we didn't talk finally until today. And then that's when he started telling me about how they invested $600,000 into our recycling program. So I want to take some more time to get some more information. Initially, the BPU looked at it, and they were asking us to vote no, that we would not want them to increase what we pay. So it's a unique situation there because in a sense, we are casting a vote. And so we're voting to cast a vote, okay, which all the district's votes will come together. The majority vote will win out of the districts. And we are, in a sense, voting to allow them to charge us more money, which is very odd. Normally it does not happen like that. I don't know if I explained that very well, but does anybody have any questions on what this is?
Our fees in the contract. The amount, the $5
Yes,
is in
this,
the contract.
yes, that is in our contract with Rumpke, so we're already paying that amount. They're asking for another $1 every 1 ton.
But it says to disapprove a generation fee abolishment, so to me that means we want to get rid of the fee and we're saying.
Well, because we're in a contract, so we have to abolish what we're already in contract with.
And earlier, I sent a message out also to Mark Vest, because I knew this was going to be a little bit involved with explaining how it all works, to see if we could get a representative from the BPU to our meeting to help explain this so we understand this, because I've never known anything about how this works or
I think a lot of this, I want to say it was like in the 90s or early 2000s, if we did receive all of this grant money. So in a sense, it's, we could be hurt if we vote no, we vote it down. We could hurt ourselves in the future if we need to apply for grants for our recycling program. So.
Right, because the others in the group vote yes, so then it still happens, but we voted no.
Yeah, we voted no, and then we go back to the NCO and we're like, hey, we need a grant for our recycling. And so what happens is each county, the county commissioners for all the counties that are represented in our district are on their board. So this does, we do have dealings with the county. So I think, your first response is, well, no, we don't want anyone to increase our fees. And that was my initial reaction. But then when you begin to kind of understand what's going on and everything that's taking place. Now, I'm not saying that we should vote to allow them to increase our fees. I'm saying I need to get more information. Obviously, if it is true that they gave us, or not gave us, but invested $600,000 in grants to help us with our recycling program, and then they turn around and are asking for another $5,000 a year, you can see how that could look bad on our part. So, again, ultimately what it comes down to, because we're going to be affected by it, because the less the recycling programs are effective, that's more recycling that goes into the landfills, which shortens the life of the landfills, which, can lead to, more problems down the road. So, but I still need to get more information.
All right. And then we can also get better clarification on if they have invested $600,000 into our specific program or into the program as a whole.
Right, I need to verify things like that to just not take their word. Seems like a trustworthy guy, but a 15-minute conversation, I don't know how much you can count.
Right. So do we want to,
Yeah,
this
so I would
does
like
not
to make a
have-
motion to amend, to remove the emergency clause.
You don't have to amend that.
I
All
don't
that,
have to amend that?
all that does is,
Yeah.
after the third reading or second reading,
Mhm.
then it'll go into effect sooner than.
Sooner, okay.
Right, so we don't have to
So we
amend
would
this.
just leave it on?
Yes.
Yeah, so I would like to leave it on, yeah, because we would want it to go into effect if we, at the next meeting, how we vote, we will want that to go into effect to get back to them.
And we did apply for it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes, that stays on, and as soon as we pass
We
it,
need to leave
it
it on.
applies.
Okay, that's, yeah, so I would like to leave this on for the next reading.
So that's our interest, we'll leave that on. 1 to resolution 20120, motion to read by title or number.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Second. All right.
Resolution 20120, a resolution amending resolutions 171, 184, 183.
Mr. Peters.
The state auditors, we need to create a separate fund for the CARES Act money that we received. So, the auditor's office has already created a separate expense, but we got to create a separate fund line for this money that we received. So, that's all this is. So they'll have its own special line, fund line, and expense line now.
Okay, so have any questions on that? Create a specific CARES Act fund line?
Since nobody has any questions or concerns with it, I move to suspend the 3 reading rule.
Okay.
I'll second.
And a second?
Blazer,
Yes.
Smith. Yes. Russell,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hitt.
Yes.
Okay, a motion to adopt.
Make the motion to adopt.
And a second?
I'll second.
Second. Okay.
Smith. Yes. Russell,
Yes.
Peters,
Yes.
Robinson,
Yes.
Hayes,
Yes.
Hitt,
Yes.
Blazer.
Yes.
Okay, motion carries. On to round table. Mr. Smith.
I have nothing.
All right, Ms. Blaine.
Just thinking, I've been saying, take care of yourself and others by a 6-foot distance, wearing a mask, which means wearing it over your nose and mouth. Not just over your eyes or over your chin or however you see it displayed. And just be nice, we can't get anything done if we're not a group together. The more we divide ourselves between each other, the less we're gonna get accomplished.
All right, Mr. Dick.
I'd like to congratulate everyone that was elected this past Tuesday. And I second what the mayor said about trying to decrease the divisiveness in society that we have these days. That would make things a lot better in the world.
All right, Mr. Hayes.
I'd like to thank all the city workers for the jobs well done, all departments. I concur with my associate, Mr. Hipp, and everything he said. And hopefully better days are ahead for the next couple of weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it takes. And that's all I got.
All right, Ms. Robinson.
I have nothing this time.
All right, Mr. Peters.
No.
Mrs. Russell.
I have nothing.
All right, I'd just also like to congratulate all of our state and local, national officials in this election. Also, I just wanted to mention that we had a really great voter turnout. About 78% of the voters for the county came out to vote. That is a huge number of voters. You know, and the mayor, he is correct. And as we all see that, you know, we're the United States of America, and we can't be divided against ourselves because, you know, a house that's divided against itself is basically going to implode. It's not going to be able to stand. So, you know, we need to understand that we do have differences, and it's okay to have differences, but we don't need to tear the structure of our system and our, you know, the fabric of our country apart just because we're all divided. So, get a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.